Hi again, everybody. George Altman with VETS Indexes again. Looks like we have a fair number of folks signed in. So I'm going to go ahead and get things started. First, thank you so much to everyone who joined us for this. This should be a very quick presentation. Run through it a few times. Should only take 20-25 minutes. And I've left plenty of time after this to go over any questions that folks may have. So please, if you have questions, enter them into the chat. I'm going to be watching all the questions there and happy to answer them. So thank you very much, and we'll get to those questions at the end. Let me get started. So first, let me introduce VETS Indexes to folks who aren't familiar with us. We are a small firm headquartered in New York City, and there's a few different things that we do. So we are an independent provider of ESG indexes. For folks that aren't familiar with the financial world, that stands for environmental, social, and governance. And our particular slice of that is organizations that seek to employ veterans and really not just recruit them, but also retain them, develop them into important employees within the organization, and support them as well. You all may also know us from our semi-annual Employing US Vets Conference. I know that many of the folks joining us for today's webinar participated in the most recent Employing US Vets Conference a couple of months ago. So thanks to everyone who did that. And also, let me just, for folks who may have known me from a previous life, I would like to introduce myself. Before starting with VETS Indexes this year, spent the previous 8 years from 2012 to 2020 running all of Military Times' Best for Vets surveys, including Best for Vets employers, Best for Vets colleges, places to live, franchise brands, and learned a lot from that. I really kind of view this effort as the culmination of the result of all of my knowledge that I was able to learn sometimes through trial and error in that previous experience. So now that you got who we are, let's talk a little bit about the VETS Indexes Employer Awards. First, the primary thing that this is seeking to do is to evaluate organizations based on their efforts to employ veterans, and again, from recruiting all the way through development into important company assets. This was developed not just with our team, but also through outreach to some of the biggest voices in the veteran employment space, both on the government side, the regulatory side, from veteran supporting nonprofits, even from a lot of private sector companies as well, who were able to give us some of their perspective. So I think we have a lot more depth to this product. And I think it's important to note also that these awards are audited to ensure that first it matches the methodology that we're laying out there, and that it's conducted in an objective, high integrity sort of way. We think it's very important to be transparent and to hold ourselves to the same high standards that we hold everyone else to. And let me next discuss some of the award types and levels that are available. So if you submit this survey, there are 4 different levels of awards that you will be eligible for. Those are, you see on the screen, Index is 5-star employer, VETS Index is 4-star employer, 3-star employer, or recognized employer. There's also one more category that isn't listed here that I think is worth mentioning, and that is organizations that aren't recognized. We think it's very important that these awards are set aside just for the organizations that really separate themselves from the pack, that are doing above and beyond. They're going above and beyond the call to support veterans and make serious efforts to bring them into their ranks. In order to do that, we can't just give a participation trophy to everyone who submits a survey. You really have to positively distinguish yourself. However, that being said, we recognize that just participating in this survey indicates a level of seriousness and commitment to supporting veterans. And for that reason, that seek one of these awards, fill out the survey, and fail to get it, we are focused on the positive here. And that is, we recognize the positive efforts that companies are trying to make in that respect. And, we're not trying to drag anyone through the mud by any means. So let's talk about why organizations may be interested in participating in these awards. And I think it's important to note here, we've already gotten a lot of interest. I've frankly been humbled by the amount of interest that we've gotten all November. We have already 100 registrations and are expecting a lot of companies to participate. And excuse me, I keep saying companies. It's important to note here that this is a program not just for private sector companies, but for companies that are publicly traded, for companies that are privately held, for government agencies and departments, including as well. We will make divisions of our responses based on the type of respondent so that we're only making apples to apples comparisons among like organizations. But I think it's very important to note that this awards program is for everyone, not just publicly traded companies, not just a particular slice of the pie. Any organization that is making an effort to employ veterans, these awards are for you, and we want you to participate. So what do you get out of it as an organization? So any organization that receives our award, and again, not everyone who will receive one, they will get a news release and a logo. That same VETS Index's employer logo that you saw on the previous page, that logo right here on the bottom. And obviously, which of these 4 logos you get depends on which rank that you get. So you can use that logo for a few important purposes. Most obvious, I think, is recruiting. That is a seal of approval that lets talented veterans leaving the military and looking for their next careers, lets them know that you are an organization that is worth considering, worth taking a second look at. It goes beyond recruiting, though. I think also important for advertising, marketing, as well as public relations. So you are free to use this logo with absolutely, no fees, no, licensing costs, nothing of the sort for both internal and external communications and marketing, advertising, what have you. And I think this is also important from a public relations standpoint as well. It's not just the folks who you're trying to recruit who would be interested to know all the efforts that you're making in the veteran employment space. Maybe you'd like your customers to know that, maybe your business partners, suppliers. This can be a very effective and quick way to get the word out from a third party, from an objective third party that is drawing comparisons from organizations of all types across the country. This is validation that you are serious about your veteran employment efforts and that your organization is recognized as such. So we've talked the benefits from participating. Let's talk about the costs that this will entail, costs of various types. So the first cost is the most obvious, financial. I have a very quick and easy answer to this issue, which is there is none. For any company that is participating, and I said company again, any organization of any type that's participating, there's no cost for any part of the process to receive a survey invitation, to fill out the survey, to have your survey evaluated, to receive an award, to receive the logo, to use the logo. Every single step of this process, there's no cost, there's no fees with it. Kind of aside from actual cost, the next item to I think that's important to address is what costs you in terms of the amount of time it's order, and it's much more dynamic than some comparable surveys you may have seen in the vet employment space. We got it down to about 65 questions, and we've run through it ourselves and know that it can be completed in just a few hours. Now you're going to have to gather some information beforehand to be prepared, but once you have all that in hand, you will be in good shape, and it should be hopefully a quick and easy process to fill it out. And I think lastly, it's very important to mention our confidentiality provisions. I talked previously about us not publishing which organizations go out for this award and do not ultimately get recognized with an award. Another important confidentiality feature that I want to highlight here is any information you provide in the survey will not be published. We will publish the name of your organization if you win an award, and that's it. You don't have to worry about your employee population numbers or the various budgets that you have that we ask for being published. We respect your proprietary information. We will not publish any of that. And if anyone would like us to sign a non-disclosure agreement to that effect, we are more than happy to do so. As a matter of fact, we already have for one organization already that all of you would know by name, but I will not name that organization again because we gave them the same confidentiality pledge that applies to all of you. So that's very important. We respect proprietary information, and we'll sign any NDAs you need us to establish that. So we talked about why to participate. Let's talk a little bit about how to participate in these awards. So the award program is based on the VETS Index's Employer Awards survey that we launched just about a month ago, early November. As I mentioned previously, survey is open to organizations of all types, publicly traded companies, privately held companies, nonprofit organizations, and government agencies and departments. The key item that you need to participate in the survey is you need a survey invitation that in form that you'll need to fill out to be considered for these awards. Many of you on this webinar have already received this survey invitation and should already have your link. If you don't, it's very easy to get that link to you. There's two different things you can do. First is go to our website, vetsindexes.com/employer-awards. And there's a registration box there where you can just put in your information, and it will all land in my inbox eventually, and I will make sure that survey invitation goes to you. Or you can just send me an email and I will get you all squared away. Just email survey@vetsindexes.com. Again, survey@vetsindexes.com, and I will get your invitation to you. The important deadline to keep in mind is February 1st, 2021. We're going to need all responses back by then. So let's talk a little bit about the structure of the survey, what you should expect when you're filling it out. There are 5 sections in this survey. That's actually not entirely true. There's 5 sections in the survey that we are going to evaluate organizations based on. The very beginning and the very end of the survey will have questions that ask for, kind of basic company directory style information. And those questions do not factor into the evaluation process. But the following 5 sections that I listed here are the ones that do factor into the evaluation process. And you can see what they are: recruiting and hiring, development and retention, veteran inclusive policies and culture, Guard and Reserve policies, military, spouse, and family support. So those are the sections. Within those sections, you are going to find a variety of different types of questions. And I'll quickly run you guys through what those questions are. First and most prevalent are data questions. These are questions where we're going to ask you for specific, concrete, and most often numerical information. So that forms the bulk of our survey because we are, looking for objective questions where we can make apples to apples comparisons among organizations, and think hard numbers are one of the best ways we can do that. Beyond the data questions, we have pick one, where you are given a variety of answer choices and can select only one. We have check all that apply questions, where you have a variety of answer options and can select more than one of those. Drop-down menus tend to contain very long lists of answer options. We also have select and rank questions, where you will rank various items from 1 to 10 based on how applicable they are to your organization. And last but not least, text entry questions. These are actually going to be the least common within our survey because these also tend to be the most subjective question types. And if our survey was just filled with question types that were all text entry, essentially we would be evaluating organizations based on how good their writing skills are, how convinced we are by their essays. And it would make making apples to apples comparisons among different organizations very difficult. So that's why we've mostly shied away from these question types. But there are 1 or 2 text entry questions that you'll see in the survey. So I want to right now give a few basic tips for filling out the survey. I'm going to cover a few tips in this slide, a few additional ones in the following slide, and then we'll be just about at the end, and I will answer some questions. I see that I already have several questions coming in through chat. Again, thank you guys so much for giving me those. Please keep them coming. I know I haven't addressed any of them yet, but I will once I get to the end in just a couple slides. So please keep those coming. But let me jump into our final few slides right now, starting with this first round of tips for filling out the survey. So I think it's important, I would recommend before you get started filling out the online form through your unique survey link, I think it's very important that you review 3 documents that we've put up online on our website. One is a blank survey that is a PDF including all questions within the survey. The second is a frequently asked questions document that includes answers to, I think, most of the common questions that folks will have, and I think is probably the most comprehensive item that we've got, kind of walking you through the entire process, everything you need to know, potential pitfalls, et cetera. And finally, there's the data that you'll need document, which just gives a short list of the types of information that we're asking for in the survey that you'll want to start gathering before you try to actually fill the survey out. You can find all of those documents on our website, vetsindexes.com. And they're also linked in your survey invitation as well. So again, refer to those before you start trying to fill out the survey. And I think the process of filling out the survey can be a lot easier for everyone. Next, it's very important that you provide as much information as you possibly can in this. We can only evaluate organizations based on the information they provide for us. So if you leave a survey question blank, we have no information by which to compare your organization to other organizations in that metric. And so for that metric, organizations that provided information are going to have a leg up on organizations that didn't. Strategically, I think it would be reasonable for a company or nonprofit or government organization to wonder to themselves, if there's a particular metric where you expect that your organization compares poorly to peer organizations, strategically, are you better off leaving the question blank and not giving us that information that would compare poorly, or going ahead and putting that information in? The answer in all cases is you will strategically do better providing information, even if it compares poorly to others, than if you provide no information at all. Because if the data that you're providing really does compare poorly, the fact that you provided it will still give you a leg up. And also important to note, you may be underestimating what you're doing and overestimating what other folks are doing, and maybe you guys compare a lot better than you thought. So provide as much information as you can. And as you're filling out the survey, this process should make it very simple for you to provide information. So your answers are automatically saved, and this happens as you move throughout the survey. There are red buttons at the bottom of the page, a forward button and a back button, that either advance you to the next page in the survey or take you back to the previous page in the survey. Every time you hit either of these buttons, the information that you've entered on that page is saved. So what that means is you can complete this survey in multiple sittings. You don't have to do it all at once. You can complete the survey. You can start the survey one day and then return to it the next day, the next week, even the next month, as long as the deadline hasn't passed. And you will pick up right where you left off. So it should make things pretty simple. Then when you get to the end of the process, it's very important that you review your answers carefully before you submit the survey. So once you've answered all of the questions in the survey, the very last page in the online survey that you see will include a readback of every answer that you provided. You need to look at that extremely carefully as you see it. Make sure that all of the answers you provided are correct. If they're not, you're going to need to go back in the survey and correct them. But please be aware that once you see that page, if you scroll down past all of your answers to the bottom of the page and hit the right arrow button to advance, that officially submits your survey. Once you've done that, it might not be possible for you to make changes or additions to the information that you entered. So it's very important that before you take that last step, you do a quality check. And lastly, I want to have kind of a brief discussion about skipping survey questions. So most of this survey, you will be able to skip any question that you see. The exception is there are a few questions at the beginning where you must answer the questions in order to move on, and the survey system won't let you move on unless you do that. These are questions that are really integral to the survey, and we can't process your response if we don't get them. Things like, what's the name of your organization? Who is the contact who we should be reaching out to for questions about the survey response, et cetera. Those are the only ones that can't be skipped. The rest of the questions, and they will all occur toward the beginning of the survey. The rest of the questions throughout the survey, you can skip. Again, you want to skip as few questions as you can, because the more questions you answer, the better you will be able to do as an organization in these rankings. But it's also important to keep in mind that there are some questions that have survey logic attached to them. What is survey logic? What does that mean? So there are some questions that we only show you based on your answers to previous questions. A good example is the work opportunity tax credit. We have one question in the survey that asks whether your organization has hired any veterans and received work opportunity tax credits as a result of those hires. It's kind of a simple yes or no question. If you answer yes, you see a follow-up question that asks for numbers of these tax credits that your organization has received. If you answer no, that you as an organization haven't received any of these tax credits, then this really isn't the question asking how many you received isn't really relevant to you. So the survey will skip that question for you entirely. Now, what happens if you skip that question asking whether or not you've received any? Is that question is skipped. The survey doesn't know that it's applicable to you, and as a result, the survey doesn't show it to you. For this reason, it is particularly important that you make sure at some point that you go back and answer those questions that have survey logic attached to them. Again, as a general rule, you want to be answering not just those questions, but every one that you can throughout the survey. Couple other items related to this to mention. First, some of you may have noticed that the survey asks whether you're able to provide, it asks you to provide 2 years of data, and it gives you the option of providing data from 2018 and 2019 or from 2019 and 2020. Now we're currently in calendar year 2020, so it is natural for organizations to wonder, how the heck am I supposed to provide you full year information right now when the year is still in progress? Completely understand that issue. If you, again, the survey deadline is the start of February 2021. My advice is, if you will be able to provide us 2020 data by waiting to submit your response until sometime in January, at which point, depending on how quickly your systems process things, you may have 2020 data available. In that case, I would absolutely encourage organizations to wait until January to start their responses. Well, I'm sorry, to submit their responses. However, if that time frame isn't feasible for you guys to turn around 2020 data, then you can provide us 2018 and 2019 data at absolutely, no defect to your survey evaluation. In other words, we will not punish organizations for providing 2018 and 2019 data. They'll be treated the same as 2019 and 2020. However, just to keep everything as current as we possibly can, we would prefer 2020 data if possible. And last but certainly not least, I want to clarify what happens if you give us a survey that has some questions skipped, or that is, let's say, mostly filled out, but you didn't hit the submit button on that last page, so it's not officially, quote unquote, submitted. I want everyone to know we will consider your survey response, even with skipped questions, and even if you haven't officially hit that submit button. We wouldn't want any organization that intended to participate to, be left out of consideration entirely for some silly and frankly arbitrary reason, like, someone mistakenly forgot to hit the right arrow at the bottom of the last page of the screen, the last page of the survey. So we won't punish anyone for that, and we will consider everyone's surveys. So this is the end of all of the slides that I had. I am going to right now start going through the questions that folks have chatted and seeing which of those I can answer. Again, as you guys have questions, please put them into the chat box and I will continue to go down through them. And I'll also say, if you would rather ask your question in another forum, just rather than this kind of public webinar, just shoot me an email, survey@vetsindexes.com. That goes straight to me. I'm happy to answer any question you guys have, and that email will always work. So don't have to ask all your questions here, but again, I'd appreciate every question that you all can provide. So let me start going down through the questions that I've received in chat. First question I'm seeing, does this include federal government agencies? Yes, absolutely. I've already been in talks with multiple federal agencies interested in participating in this. Not only are federal agencies allowed to participate, we absolutely welcome them and expect to have several participating. So that is a definite yes. The next question is really the same question, but as applied to service organizations providing employment assistance and other services to veterans. So yes, applies to government. We are happy to have government agencies participating, and also happy to have nonprofit organizations, especially veteran serving ones, participating as well. Let me continue to make my way down through this. Okay, next question is a very important question, one that I addressed toward the end of my presentation, but I think is worth covering again because it's really a very important issue. Once you've completed the survey, do you have an opportunity to go back into the survey to make changes? Again, it is extremely important that you all review your responses very carefully before submitting, because it may not be possible to go back into your survey and make changes once you've submitted it. It's very important to us that the information we receive is accurate. So should you submit your survey and then realize, oh shoot, this is wrong, it should be a different answer than I entered, please reach out and let us know. Again, survey@vetsindexes.com is your best point of contact there. But the answer is no, it may not be possible to change answers. So please be very careful and make sure the answers that you enter are correct. What is the due date again? The due date is the first Monday of February, and I'm going to double check which Monday that is. That is February 1st, 2021. So please make sure that you have your responses in by then. And if you find that deadline problematic for any reason, again, email me, let me know, we'll see what we can do. Will this PowerPoint be distributed to attendees? Yes, we are recording this right now, and we'll be distributing the PowerPoint and video as well on our website. So yes, everyone will receive a copy of this. Okay. Following question is, I'm sorry, folks, I'm having trouble scrolling through this. There we go. Can we download a PDF or Word version of the question so we can share internally and divide and conquer on data gathering? The answer to that question is yes, you can. And beyond that, yes, you absolutely should do so. The place where you can find that is vetsindexes.com/employer-awards-survey. That's where you'll find a blank copy. You'll also, if you've received a survey invitation, kind of the quickest, fastest way to get there is just go back to your invitation and click on the link that says blank survey. That'll take you right to it. You'll download a PDF version of the blank survey initially. If you need a Word version, all you have to do in order to get one is open up your Microsoft Word application, and then within Microsoft Word, go to File, Open, and ask Microsoft Word to open that PDF. and Word will automatically convert it from PDF to Word. That said, if you have any trouble with that process, I've got a Word version I can send everyone, and I'm happy to do so. Just again, survey@vetsindexes.com is the email address you need to use, and I will get that right to you. Okay, next question. How is the size of the organization handled? Some organizations are very large, some are small and regional or local. That is another fantastic question. I'm really glad that you asked because I think the answer is particularly important. So I mentioned previously that we are trying to make apples to apples comparisons. We're trying to do that, making sure that we are only comparing organizations of similar sizes and types. So we intend to, the same way that we intend to separately evaluate, let's say, government agencies from for-profit, big corporations, because they're very different types of organizations that it wouldn't make a lot of sense to try to draw direct comparisons between. We're also dividing organizations by size. You'll notice one of the company demographic questions in the beginning of the survey asks for a range of your number of overall employees. That's what we will use to make sure we are grouping companies based on size and drawing fair comparisons. All right, let me go down to the next question. Okay, so looks like the following question is asking about the 2020 data issue, which I mentioned a few minutes ago. But again, this is a kind of a confusing thing, and I think worth addressing one more time. The 2020 data, again, we're in calendar year 2020 now, so perfectly understandable that if your company is on a calendar year rather than a fiscal year, you don't have full year 2020 data right now. If you'll be able to provide it by waiting until January to answer questions asking for 2020 data, we would encourage you to do so. But if not, you can provide 2018 and 2019 data with absolutely no penalty in the evaluation. Either way, you will be fine. All right, next question is asking, is there one winner per category or multiple winners? Another very good question. The answer is there are going to be multiple winners per category, and also, multiple winners within each separate category. So don't expect that there's only going to be, one large for-profit corporation 5-star, one large for-profit corporation 4-star, one large for-profit corporation 3-star, and then one large for-profit or one medium-sized for-profit company 5-star, 4-star, et cetera. We are going to have multiple for each category, and we are planning to divide it up based on where a company falls in comparison to its peers within the same group, with the organizations that are in the most the highest scores getting 5 stars, 4-star, the next rung getting 4 stars, the following getting 3 stars. Again, segmented out based on organization type, with several organizations receiving awards of each type. So yes, there will be multiples. All right, following question is asking if this PowerPoint will be sent to attendees afterwards. Again, yes, it will. Okay, following question is asking about our semi-annual conference and where to find more info about that. Fantastic question. Very easy. All you need to do is go to the website employingusvets.com, and you will see all of our information. The last one we held was in September. The next one is scheduled for April. So really hope everyone is able to participate in that. And you guys should certainly expect to see more information going forward about that April conference. Okay. Yes. Okay. So the following question I see is asking whether federal agencies have participated or received any awards in the past. This is the inaugural year for the VETS Index's Employer Awards. Obviously, we've talked about how we've been in this VETS Index, we've been in the veteran employment space for quite some time. So these issues certainly aren't new to us, but this awards program is. So there haven't been previous winners, again, because this is a new operation. Okay, I see a question from John Perez on question 6.3. And that, to be honest, looks pretty detailed, and I want to make sure I'm able to kind of review that. So John, let me circle back with you offline. I'll get back to you directly on that question, and as it applies to you guys. Okay, so following question, are all company scores published publicly regardless of score? No. We will not publish, again, as I mentioned at the outset, if you fill out a survey and go out for one of these awards, we will not publish the name of your organization should you fail to receive one of the awards. And we also don't plan on publishing, detailed information about your score any further than the award level we get. So, the information that will be publicly available about your organization, should you win an award, will be the award that your organization earned. And that's it. Okay, following question. When you talk about employees, is this only paid employees, or does this include regular volunteers who spend a specified amount of hours per week at the company? The answer is we are focused much more on paid employees. Kind of the challenge that we're seeking to address here is the challenge that veterans face as they transition from one very particular type of job, working for the U.S. military, to a completely different type of job, working for the private sector, or working in a completely different capacity for the government or maybe a nonprofit organization. So being that employment, and to be honest, paid employment is what really matters here. That is what we're focusing on. So let me see what other questions we've got. Okay, looks like one last question from Jim Beamsdorfer. Thanks, Jim. For number of employees overall, safe to assume that it's US based only. So actually, it can go either way, and the answer depends on you. You will notice there's a question earlier in the survey, before you get to the employee numbers question, that asks whether your survey response reflects only your US domestic operations or your domestic US and international operations, or there's a third answer choice asking whether it's not applicable because you don't have any non-US operations. So to answer your question, if you select this is only for US-based operations, then the employee numbers you give should only be US-based employees. If you select it's US-based and international, then it should be reflective of both. And it's really up to you as an organization whether you want to include the international operations or not. So that's all the questions that I've got. It's now 2:45, 2:46, and not seeing any other questions coming through the transom. I think I'll end this just a little bit early. I want to say again, thank you so much to everyone who was part of this. We will be sending this video and the PowerPoint out so everybody can see it and review it at their leisure. And again, very importantly, any questions you guys have about the process, any problems that you run into along the way, anything we can do to help, we're always happy to. All you need to do is email survey@vetsindexes.com and we will take care of you. So again, thank you all so much for participating, and this concludes the webinar.